What's up guys, Saf here on SuperSaf TV, and this is my Tesla Model 3 Performance long-term review after owning it for almost a year. Now, a few disclaimers. This is obviously the 2020 edition. It's not the refreshed 2021 edition. Otherwise, there's no way I would have had it for a year. But pretty much everything that I'm going to be covering in this video will apply to the refresh as well. And also, I'm not like a petrol head or anything like that. I am just a regular driver. So hopefully this video will be quite relatable as well. I'll be leaving some timestamps down below to the different sections. Do hit that thumbs up button so it plays to the Google algorithm, and let's get to it. So I think if you've been following me on social media, you'll know that I've really enjoyed driving the Tesla Model 3 Performance over the past year. It's an excellent car overall. And as much as there is to like about it, there's obviously a lot of room for improvement as well. So firstly, let's talk about the overall design. You'll notice that my Tesla Model 3 Performance has been wrapped. I've actually covered that in detail in a previous video, which I'll link in the cards and in the description. But it was a midnight silver metallic, and I actually got it wrapped satin black, which I still think looks absolutely amazing. I'm definitely happy with my decision. However, the one thing that I do want to highlight, something that I didn't know when going into this, was how much it can affect your insurance. A lot of insurance companies do not like wraps, so they straight up probably won't insure you anyway. And if you do get it insured, for me personally, my insurance went up more than double compared to when I did not have the wrap, which was definitely quite a bit of a surprise. Now, I still think it's worth it because of how unique the car looks. But if you are thinking of getting your car wrapped, speak to a few insurance companies first. Make sure it's not going to be something that's going to come to you as a surprise. This is something that I've really not heard anybody else talk about. Now, apart from that, I really do like the design of the Tesla Model 3. I got the grey performance wheels with mine, which I'm so happy with. These have now been refreshed and I still like the ones that I've got. So I'm glad I got in at the right time. It was actually one of the reasons why I went with the performance model, just because I really like those wheels. And I have curbed them slightly, unfortunately. So that is something to keep in mind. You might want to get some wheel insurance or something like that. Now, a lot of people talk about particular issues in terms of the panel alignments and things like that when they pick up their Tesla. Thankfully, I did not have any of these issues. I spent a lot of time kind of going over everything with my brother when I did go to pick up my Tesla. And this is something that there's really no excuse, right? Tesla is now the highest valued car company in the world. So there is really no excuse for any panel alignment issues or anything like that. Thankfully, mine was absolutely fine. But when you do go to pick up your Tesla, definitely look out for every little detail. You are paying a lot of money for this, so there is really no excuse. Mine generally was fine. There were a few scuffs here and there. So I spoke to them and then they got out a detailer to just kind of patch those up. And then I was on my way. In terms of any other issues, a couple of months after getting my Tesla, I actually noticed some condensation in the tail light, one of the tail lights. And this kept building up. So I did get in touch with Tesla. But what I actually love about the whole service situation with Tesla is you don't have to speak to anybody. You don't need to wait on a phone line or anything like that. You can actually do this all within the app. I just described my issue, I uploaded some pictures, and then booked an appointment for somebody to come around. Now, this did take a couple of months purely because of the lockdown situation. It did get pushed back thanks to the extended lockdown where I live. But chap came down, replaced the tail light within 5 or 10 minutes, and he was on his way, and it was absolutely fine. So yeah, if any issues do come up, I'm confident that they will be sorted pretty quickly and easily thanks to the app system. Right, now let's talk about the whole driving experience. And the driving experience on the Tesla Model 3 Performance has been super smooth. I still can't get over the acceleration, 0 to 60 in around 3.2 seconds on this performance model. But even if you don't go for the performance model, the acceleration is so fast and it just never gets old. Whenever I've had anybody in the car, back when we were allowed to have people in the car, it's just always a surprise. I'll just kind of be at a traffic light and I'll put my foot down and everybody's like, whoa, what was that? It's kind of like being on a roller coaster ride or something. Absolutely awesome. Really love it. And everybody keeps talking about the whole Tesla test drive, because as soon as you go for a test drive, you're going to go ahead and buy one. And I think the acceleration is a big part of that. It's just so good. Now, one of the things about the acceleration is that you don't actually realize how fast you're going a lot of the times, because it just picks up speed so fast. Sometimes I'll kind of have to like have a glance over onto the center console to see how fast I'm actually going. I'll be like, okay, well, I'm going a bit too fast here, let me slow it down. And initially, the center screen for me was like, it's not that much of a big deal. It's just kind of like at a glance on the side, so it's not that much of a big deal. But there are certain situations where it can be a little bit annoying just having everything here on the center console. I would have liked to have had things like your speed and, you know, just important information like when you're driving and any navigation instructions right ahead of you in your line of sight. And I think this could have been easily resolved with a head-up display. So I've driven lots of other cars which do have a head-up display. Essentially, it's a little projector that actually gives you that information directly in your line of sight. So it's actually better than having something behind the steering wheel. And this is something that I really do think Tesla needs to have in their Model 3s in particular, because there is just this center screen, and that would solve a lot of the issues. Now, you can actually set up speed limits, so if you do go over a particular speed limit, it's going to start beeping, but that can get a little bit annoying at times as well, because, you know, say I'm at a 30-mile zone and I'm going into a 60-mile zone, so I'm kind of just transitioning there, it'll start beeping away, and I'm like, no, it shouldn't be beeping. By the time it kind of updates, it will still be beeping at that time, which I really don't like. Again, I think a head-up display would solve a lot of it. A lot of people kind of complain about the lack of buttons. I really like the minimal look with the lack of buttons. But yes, I agree, certain things, it can be a little bit annoying having to always go back to the center screen. You do have voice commands as well, which does make the whole process a little bit easier for certain things. But yeah, I think little things like this generally won't be a problem for most people, but it's just something that I need to mention. Now, one of the other things that you may have heard a lot of people also talk about is the noise, the wind noise, especially when you're on the motorway. It definitely could do with some soundproofing. Now, I know the refresh has had some updates here. I've not had a chance to drive the refresh, but this is, again, something that I did notice, especially when you're in the motorway. You can definitely hear a lot of the wind noise and other cars outside. I would have liked that to have been toned down a little bit. Now, let's talk about the whole range situation and my charging habits. So the Tesla Model 3 Performance has a claimed 329-mile range, I believe it is. Realistically speaking, I don't think you're going to get that maximum. That is the absolute maximum range. There's obviously lots of factors that go into it as well. How you're driving, how cold it is, because if it is colder, you're not going to get anywhere near that range. But generally speaking, for me, the range has been pretty good. And I think, realistically speaking, if you're based in the UK, you really shouldn't have much range anxiety, because UK is really not that big. I mean, for me personally, in terms of long distance journeys, I have gone to London quite a few times. I'm based in Leicester, which is around 115 miles away each way. So I've actually been able to comfortably go to London and back on a single charge and come back with around 50 miles or so left on the battery, which has been super convenient for me. Now, that's just the general long distance. I do have a charger installed at home, and this is something that I do think is key, and it's something you definitely have to consider. Do you have a driveway? Can you get a charger installed at home? Because if I couldn't get a charger installed at home, I probably wouldn't have bought this, because there are no supercharger stations in my city. Now, personally, I've got the PodPoint charger. I didn't go with the official Tesla home charger, purely because the speed was exactly the same, and the PodPoint, there was a grant and it just worked out so much cheaper. And generally for me, it's been absolutely fine. The charging speed at home is roughly around 29 miles an hour. So essentially you can just plug it in, leave it to charge overnight, and you're good to go. And for me, I generally only charge it up to around 200 miles, because most of the time I'm just driving around the city and I don't need to charge it up all the way. I only charge it up all the way if I am going to be going for a longer distance journey. And it's been absolutely fine for me, and it's so convenient not having to go to a fuel station. And on the occasions where I have done some long distance journeys, so for instance, when I got my car wrapped, I got it done in Bradford. On my way back, I only had around 70 miles left on the battery. So I put in my home destination. The Tesla actually redirected me through a supercharging station. and I just plugged it in. I think I plugged it in for around 12 to 15 minutes and it gave me around 120 miles extra. And the cost of that as well was under £8. Now, it was actually free for me because I have a lot of free miles from recommendations. By the way, if you are thinking of buying a Tesla and you want a free 1,000 miles for yourself and for me as well, then I'll leave a link down below. Shameless plug there. But yeah, it was so convenient because sure, it added around, I'd say 20 minutes extra to my journey back, but just being able to go to a supercharger station, get that fast charging top up and be able to go on my way was absolutely fine. And once again, I don't think range anxiety is going to be that much of a big deal for most people. I would say, however, that if you cannot get a charger installed at home, have a look around at what supercharging stations are available. Are they on your way, maybe to work or something? Maybe go there at a peak time, kind of see how many cars are there. As I said, for me personally, it's not been a problem because I have got a home charger, but that's definitely something that I would recommend doing a little bit of research about that. In terms of the cost itself, it's hard for me to calculate that because I do have solar panels, so a lot of the power comes directly from there. But I can definitely tell you that it's been much, much cheaper than my diesel that I had before this. Now let's talk about one of my favorite things about buying a Tesla, and that is the software updates. This is something that you really don't get on any other car. And I've had so many software updates. Every few weeks, there will be a software update. You get an alert on your phone and you can just get it updated. Very quick and easy. And there's lots of improvements that have come as well. Initially, when I got the car, the dash cam and the Sentry mode, I would have to plug out my USB stick and then view it, which was really long and cumbersome. And I was just thinking, why don't they have it on the massive screen itself? And sure enough, there was an update and now we have a full viewer where you can actually see all the different angles here on the screen itself. I leave Sentry mode on. Again, Sentry mode is something that I absolutely love. I can leave the car and if there have been any alerts, I'll get an alert saying, okay, this many events have occurred and I can easily view them here. And it's so funny because a lot of the times I'll kind of leave my car and then, there'll be people kind of coming over close and kind of looking at the screen. Oh, look, it's a Tesla, it's a Tesla. And it's so funny just having that all captured here on the screen and I can view it straight away. So Sentry mode, again, is something that I really love. And when it comes to software updates, another example I can give you is I was in London and I had a suitcase in my back seat. And when taking it out, I kind of nudged the door and I didn't close it properly and I didn't realize. So I went about on my day and I came back and I realized that the car was actually not locked. Thankfully, everything was fine. It was a very secure car park. But I was just like, what would be great is if I got an alert if on my smartphone, if I left the car open. And again, a couple of months later, it's like Tesla read my mind and there was an update which now does give you an alert if you do leave your car door or boot open. So, after a few minutes, if you're away from the car, it will give you an alert saying you've actually left it open and then you can just come back and make sure it is closed. So again, little things like that are so convenient and these things you really don't get on any other car. Another thing I absolutely love is climate control. It's been super cold in the UK recently, and just being able to set the car to warm up and have all the ice melt from the windows before you get in is so convenient. Now, while we're on the software, let's talk about the full self-drive and autopilot situation. So I actually did not go for the full self-drive. I'm based here in the UK, and from speaking to friends that also have Teslas, it just didn't seem like a worthwhile investment because at this point in time anyway, I don't think self-driving is at the point where you can really put that amount of money down. Also, I'm not planning to keep this for more than a couple of years. I'm hoping to get the Cybertruck. So I was just like, should I really spend that much extra money on getting full self-drive? So I just stuck with Autopilot. Now, Autopilot comes as standard and it is really good and it's so convenient. I mentioned that I go to London a lot. Now, from Leicester to London, around 80% of the journey is on the M1 and it's a long, straight road, right? So being able to just switch on Autopilot and just relax a little bit, and have the Tesla do everything for you is so convenient. Now you have to every so often kind of tug the steering wheels just so it knows that you are attentive, and although that can be a little bit inconvenient, I kind of understand why it's there. Of course, for safety you do need to be alert, but generally speaking, Autopilot is so convenient, especially on longer journeys. That's my overall experience with the Tesla Model 3 Performance after having it for almost a year. As you can see, overall, I'm very happy with this purchase, and I can definitely recommend it, especially with all of the incentives that you have. 0% benefit in kind in the UK right now, so pretty much you're not paying any tax on this if you are buying it through your business. There's no road tax, there's no congestion charge. I mentioned I go to London a lot, and not having to worry about congestion charge is something that's super convenient. And yeah, if you are thinking of picking up a Tesla Model 3, I would definitely recommend go out, take a test drive. And I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then do hit that thumbs up button for me. Drop me some comments as well in what future coverage you'd like me to do with the Tesla Model 3 Performance, as well as other vehicles. I'm now getting a lot more into cars. As mentioned at the start, I am no petrol head or anything like that. I just like cars, and I'm approaching them as a regular driver. So if you want to see more of that content as well, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of it. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on SuperSaf TV, and I'll see you next time.